Welcome back to another FPL video. Today we're looking at the best free hit team for Gameweek 21, and even if you're not looking to use the free hit this week, and I would recommend in most cases to save it for later in the season, this will still help you in terms of your transfer plans. It could be free transfers, maybe taking hits and stuff like that. And check out my team selection video where I'll be discussing other possibilities on top of that as well. Be sure to drop this video a like if you end up enjoying it. Let's try to get this to over 200. And we're also looking to strive on towards 20,000 subscribers. That'd be greatly appreciated. That is the new goal, the big one for the year. And then we can push on from there. But without further ado, let's get straight into this video. It has been a while, but Nick Pope finally features in the best free hit team once again. He is the best goalkeeper in the game. He does cost 5.4 million though, at the same price as Edison and goalkeepers like that, but he's well worth the money. He's got 97 points, only 3 shy of 100, and there's a 15-point gap between him and second place Dean Henderson. So there are definitely some good alternatives for cheaper prices, even Kepa Arrizabalaga playing in a poor defensive side in Chelsea, but Nick Pope just gets those clean sheets, and at times when he makes a lot of saves like he did against Arsenal, he can get a lot of bonus points as well. So he is my favourite goalkeeper in the game. I think he is the best, but because you have these cheaper defenders from Newcastle like Burn, Botman, even Fabian Schär to a certain degree, that's why Nick Pope might not be as popular as he should be, and not to mention Kieran Trippier, and then the strikers like Isak and Wilson, and the informed Almiron. At least he showed a great form in the first half of the season. Nick Pope, though, facing a Crystal Palace side that have been absolutely woeful recently, I think he's got a really good chance of a clean sheet. And if there was any team I would triple up on this week defensively, it actually would be Newcastle, then probably Man City because of their fixture at home to Wolves. But Nick Pope is a certainty in goal for me, especially with Dean Henderson being a doubt to face Bournemouth. We have a very different looking defence here, with the exception of Trippier, of course, who tends to feature in all these videos despite the fixture. We've gone for a double up in Man City defence here with Ake and Akanji, who for me are the two most nailed on Man City defenders right now. John Stones could be back for the Spurs game in Gameweek 20. If not, then he should be fine very soon. And then not to mention Ruben Dias is also on the brink of recovery. So this could definitely change by the time that Gameweek 21 begins. But for the time being, I think Akanji and Ake are the most nailed on in that position for the Man City defence. And I've also gone for Ben Mee, who I actually don't think will keep a clean sheet, but he's a good squad option in this free hit team. And he's also a good choice over the next 6 or 7 games for Brentford. I think they could keep some clean sheets in that time period. Not necessarily against Leeds away, but he's also worth considering. And the other one is Serge Aurier. Nottingham Forest have been very impressive in recent game weeks, and I think they could keep a clean sheet against Bournemouth despite being away. Let's see if Dean Henderson is also available and fit enough to play there. That could also play a huge part. But Aurier is not a bad shout, I think. And also they have some good options in the midfield and attack with Brennan Johnson, Morgan Gibbs-White. But would I buy these players long term? I probably wouldn't. But for the next 3 or 4, I don't think they're bad punts per se. And would I start Serge Aurier? Probably not. I'm going to show you in the FPL.team section. But I just wanted to highlight him, to be fair. And like I said with Newcastle, I think they have the best chance of a clean sheet this week. And that's why Trippier's in here alongside Nick Pope. And it could be 2 defensive double-ups in the starting 11. We've also got some key changes in the midfield. I think we have a few omissions, there's no doubt about it, with Rashford, who's been in such great form. To leave him out does seem a bit harsh. And if you're favouring Man United in that huge clash against Arsenal next weekend, then you could maybe go for him over Odegaard or maybe Mitoma if you have the funds. So we're only going to start 4 of these midfielders, as you'll see very soon, and I'm going to reveal that in a little bit. But Salah has to be in it, I think. It's between him and De Bruyne for that premium slot in the midfield. And I actually would favour Salah against Chelsea at home over De Bruyne at home to Wolves, despite what De Bruyne did at the Molineux last season. And De Bruyne on paper and in terms of the fixture does look like the better choice. But I have a slight feeling and I lean more towards Salah in Gameweek 21. Not to mention, I also wanted a triple up in City with 2 Man City defenders because I wasn't as confident of starting other defenders in Gameweek 21, to be honest. But it's a very close call between Salah and De Bruyne this week. In the long term, or at least in the next 3 or 4 game weeks, I would prefer De Bruyne with the double in 23. But for this game week specifically, I would probably favour Salah. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Like I said earlier, Martin Odegaard or Rashford, take your pick. You can even go for both there and favour both attacks to score plenty of goals. And I have to say, Odegaard has been absolutely fantastic recently. And that's 4 double-digit returns in recent weeks. I mean, he's been absolutely electric. And I never expected him to be this good of an FPL asset. And at the beginning of this season, we were kind of discussing this. I said a lot of things like this about him being a flat-track bully. But now he's doing against absolutely everybody in the league. And it's great to see. And we've also got 2 Brighton midfielders in March and Mitoma, and I've been asked a lot, especially in recent streams, who would you pick? And I probably would say March on current form. He's the better FPL asset. He also has 10 bonus points compared to Mitoma's 1. So March would be the preference right now. But in terms of the eye test, Mitoma's the more exciting player and the one that maybe long term you can see gradually progressing into a very good player that could get more goals and assists. Right now, I think he can be a bit wasteful like he was against Liverpool, but you can't deny the ability, and the way he beats players, takes them on, and constantly challenges them is obviously a delight. And Almiron's the last midfielder. Despite 3 blanks in a row, I think he could do really well against Crystal Palace away, and I could see another big return for him, especially after so many have sold him. I'm very happy to have this front three in Gameweek 21. I would argue they are 3 of the best captaincy options this week. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. You could also bring the likes of Salah and De Bruyne into the mix, but I would argue this is the best 3, and that's why I'm going to be looking to put the armband on. Haaland has been a bit shaky recently. He's still good, he's getting chances, and I think he's a great option long term. I wouldn't consider selling him, but in terms of the captaincy, I would start to reconsider in terms of this kind of permanent captain business, because I think there are genuine alternatives in certain weeks. Harry Kane has won against Fulham away this week, Ivan Toney, and not to mention in future weeks with doubles, you could also consider some other options too. I think Haaland will do well against Tottenham and also beyond, and I think he could also start to prove us wrong maybe and prove me wrong and just start going absolutely ballistic and then we regret going against him. But I think there are certain weeks where you can challenge it and go a bit different and benefit from going against Haaland, and instead of just following the pack and always captaining him out of fear maybe at times. But I generally just captain Haaland because I think he's going to score the most points. It hasn't happened recently, and maybe it's start to reconsider, at least for the time being, with the form he's in. Ivan Toney, though, and 9 points against Bournemouth, a bit fortuitous. I got rid of Mitrovic for a hit for Ivan Toney. That's one of the luckiest transfers I've made all season, especially with double Newcastle defence involved in that play as well. But Ivan Toney, a great penalty taker, the best in the country, and he's got some fantastic fixtures coming up. That's why I took the plunge, and the only doubt really is the suspension. We have no idea when it's going to be given and what the punishment will be. So really, if you don't have him, I would just wait as close to the game as possible, and if there is no news about him being suspended, I would just buy him in, to be honest, and keep him and enjoy his points for as long as they last, really. And Harry Kane is still a fantastic choice, despite his blank against Arsenal, and I was very surprised by that. He tends to do really well, especially in home matches in the North London derby, but I would expect him to bounce back, whether against City in Gameweek 20 or afterwards in Gameweek 21. I think Fulham could actually win that game, but Spurs should still score goals. It should be a high-scoring game and a very entertaining watch. This is the front three to have, in my opinion, not only for Gameweek 21, but also in the long term. Using FPL.team, which I always recommend to you, this is how the team would line up. Nick Pope would be in goal, with Trippier, Akanji and Ake as the back three. A midfield 4 of March, Odegaard, Salah and Almiron, and the front three that we discussed, the all-important one of Ivan Toney, Haaland and Harry Kane. And the bench would be Ward, Mitoma, Aurier and Ben Mee. So plenty of squad depth, and I've still got 1.1 million left in the bank. If you can't afford this, then you could consider some alternatives such as a Rico Lewis or maybe a Bueno instead of one of these defenders, because you don't need, that much depth on the bench anyway. And if you were to get Rico Lewis, then you could maybe get rid of one of the City defenders and start someone like Aurier instead. Or you could go about things a little bit differently. But in terms of the front three, I think it's non-negotiable this week, at least on paper. And in terms of the captaincy, I probably would go for Haaland, despite everything I have said, but I would genuinely reconsider it. And as the week goes on, and after the Spurs and Man City game, which I think will be the deciding factor for me, once all of that has happened, then I will reconsider and maybe go away from Haaland to a Harry Kane or Ivan Toney. That's the way I would rank the captaincy this week. Haaland first, Kane second, Toney third at the moment, probably Salah fourth and De Bruyne fifth, but things could change, especially for first position. And in terms of other changes, De Bruyne instead of Salah, especially if you get rid of one of the City defenders and don't go for Rico Lewis. So there's plenty of things you could change here, not to mention Rashford, who I mentioned earlier. Maybe you back Man United to win that game or for Rashford to get some goals. In that case, you could displace Odegaard with him, maybe go for Mitoma instead of March because of the fixture. But on current form and in terms of FPL prospects, I would favour March slightly, but honestly, you could play both in this Gameweek 21 free here, and I don't think you'll do badly. I think Brighton will win quite comprehensively, actually, especially considering Leicester have lost every single game since the restart. But this is the Gameweek 21 free hit team. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's get this video to over 200 likes. Let's also push on towards 20,000 subscribers. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check the links in the description below, including Patreon, patreon.com/DylanRCM, the channel memberships, the Discord server, and the FPL League. There's a lot of stuff in there, and I hope I can see you in all those different social media platforms. I wish you all the best of luck for the rest of Game Week 20, Game Week 21. Enjoy the FA Cup and all the other cup competitions, as well as the rest of the season. UCL Fantasy content will be back very soon, with the Champions League returning in February, and I'll see you next time.